Well, it appears that I basically lost everything that I recorded. So, where do I want to begin? Just real quick, I would like to go through what emotional healing is. And I've been receiving some ministering in this certain area. And also, I would like to not only have this administered in my own life in those places that have been hiding, and I know that there must be something there because I'm not glowing yet. I haven't been transfigured, and there's still issues and there's still some sadness. So in the past few days, let's just say 3 days ago, I received some emotional healing from a new friend, and from a friend on Facebook. And basically this person led me back to a point in my life where some traumatic things did occur, and there was some unforgiveness there, and there was some loneliness and anger, and I would say just a lot of sadness. Just a lot of sadness, feeling neglected, feeling abandoned, feeling unwanted. There were some things that occurred during this, I would say, very formative part of my life as a young teenager that, I mean, is part of my testimony now, but if it wouldn't have happened, that would have been great. But it did happen. And basically, I acknowledged the emotion, and that emotional train took me back to the memory, and I was back in time in this memory, seeing what was there, seeing what was happening, seeing the people involved, and traveling through the house. And remember, just a lot of memories just came flooding back to me, and they were all being pieced together like a storyboard. And there was a specific area of the house where a lot of things took place that I was brought back to. And I was asked where Jesus was, and he knocked on the door, and I let him in. And it was almost like, I know who Jesus is, but this part of me, this fragment, this teenager that didn't know him answered the door, and I'm being honked at. I'm in the middle of the street. Anyways, so the teenager answered the door, let him in, and I traded with him the emotions that I was receiving then, and I was introduced to him through the person that was walking me through this emotional healing, and he asked if if the altar would like to go with him. And I heard her say, I guess so. It's just like a teenager to say, I guess so, right? So I knew, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I'm really hearing from this altar that is trapped within my soul that needs to be freed, that doesn't know Jesus. So we walked through the different emotions I was feeling, and he's asking me if I'm feeling anything else, and he's like, just let it come up, just let those things naturally just come up. And they were. And he's like, just give it to the Lord, just give it to him. So I did, and I felt like there was nothing left. And I was asked if I wanted to go with Jesus, and I said yes. The altar part of me said yes, and so she went with Jesus, and I was with him walking through this kind of like a tunnel, I guess you could say, and it was like crossing over. It was so interesting. This part of me was going into the kingdom, and he was holding my hand and walking me through to the kingdom. And he goes, look down at your feet. And so I look down, and I'm looking at his feet, and I'm looking at my feet. But my feet have shoes on from when I was a little girl, and when I actually had this traumatic event happen to me where I fell through a glass table and my shoes were covered in blood. I had these Punky Brewster shoes that were silver, and they were covered in blood. And those shoes were new. They were created new. And I was, for the first time, this altar was in the kingdom and was with him. And I looked in the mirror after this experience, and I saw a different me looking back at me. And what I feel was happening, not just a physiological change, because my cells had been reunited with light, and I had light in my DNA. It's like I could feel my DNA like waking up. The parts of me that had that, I don't even know what to call it, maybe epigenetic markers, were like switched off. And the DNA of God was like in areas where it wasn't before. I can't really explain. This is just my way of trying to make sense of something that's completely supernatural and sometimes very hard to make sense of. So yes, I think there was a physiological change, and I also think that I perceived myself different because I didn't have that trauma there anymore, and I actually truly was emotionally healed in this part of me, and that fragment was reintegrated back into me. So you actually do get younger. You actually have some innocence that was stolen from you. And so when that comes back to you, it actually is recaptured in who you are. So I just want to mention basically the recipe, and I'm sure it's different for everyone. Everyone has different ways to be healed. We're all completely different. Some people can be healed through forgiveness. For others, they need to actually meet Jesus for the first time. Like in my scenario, this rebellious teenager didn't know who the Lord was. So it was pretty scary to think that there was a part of me that didn't know God, and that part of me was actually inhibiting me from being with him fully. That's really scary to think of. So yeah, that's it for this segment, and this streams into some other stuff that happened a month ago, but I'll probably put that in a different video because I've been talking for what feels like hours now. So thank you so much, and hope to hear some good messages and see someone that, connected with this, and maybe they're going through some of their own personal emotional healing, and maybe they have some things to share with me about that, because that would be really great. Like I want to be able to help other people in this department, and I know that the Lord has specifically used me in a lot of dreams. 80 to 90 dreams I have had where I'm helping people get delivered, and I'm just praying for them, and I am letting the outpouring of the glory of God minister to them. And a lot of it is like, yes, I'm praying in tongues a lot of times. I'm just saying like a quick short prayer, but mostly I can see that their pain is from emotional trauma. And so I'm hoping to take this tool and apply it to my dream life, where I'm actually traveling and helping people get delivered of this stuff. So God bless you guys, and thanks for listening.